is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
Do we want to talk about things that matter to people who care about Wheel of Time?
Yeah, let's talk about apples first, right? Because apples...
First. Yeah, Apple was first. First sin, first smartphone, Apple first.
I swear to God, he was reading like an alphabet and it was like, A is for apples. That comes first. Let's do that.
Where was he at in his parenthood journey at that point?
Yeah, I think he had some... Well, Sanderson has enough kids that I'm pretty sure he's always had small children in his house.
Fair enough.
They may be growing up now, but certainly in the beginning of his career, like, yeah, he was for sure surrounded by small children at this point. So, yeah, I'm going to go with apples first.
Inspired by his 3-year-old.
By a 3-year-old. and him reading the ABCs to the kids.
But, I mean, I don't hate it because it is a callback to a book one character. So, like,
totally.
A is for book one works for me.
Yeah, and Almen Bunt, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on here, and it's one of those cool moments where you
man.
Yeah, Sorry, I always call him Almen Blunt, even though I know it's Bunt. I just put that L in there for some reason.
Remember, he's a bunt cake, not a stoner.
Well, I thought he'd be making the bong out of the apples, right? Like, that's the whole point. That's why they're growing them, is apple pipes, right? That's really... They're all disappointed because they can't smoke out of the apples.
Like, oh no, these are just little, what do they call them? Chillums? The little, like, one-hit wonder things?
Yep, that's a chillum.
Yeah, that's all they're going to be able to make this year. It's terrible.
Just the little tiny pipes. But yeah, this was a great moment for me. Like, this really felt like, what is Godrand going to be like, right? This is something that we've been waiting to see. He's finally enlightened. We finally have the leader we need going into the last battle. We have this chance, and this is the moment where we get to see that.
Yeah, I mean, the clouds literally part to let through the light of Rand is back, baby. We're going to go. We're going to do this thing. We're going to scoop up our book one characters, and we are going to win this fucking last battle.
But in the meantime, we're going to hang out with Perrin for a long time doing absolutely nothing. We're
just going to inch as slowly as possible towards the most obvious conclusion in the entire world.
Right. I really didn't. I was like, Perrin's slog is super long, but once we get through the first 3 books, no, he's got a whole other slog that happens in this book.
It's just Malden. It's just Fael's fault. No, it's not just Fael's fault.
No. Just rehashing the whole Berylane Fael fucking thing all over again. Like, it's just like, I'm done with it. All right.
Do the paragraph.
So excited for I always love the paragraph.
And there's so much Seanchan lore in this paragraph. Like, I wouldn't mind if you just went and went and went. Like, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. Like, it's literally like every other paragraph is like, I got shit to comment on for like a while.
Should I just read up until smoke seemed to rise from the entire continent of Seanchan? That's like up 2 pages in.
Yeah. It's long, but like, it's good. I think it's good. If anyone doesn't like it, well, skip ahead 2 minutes.
Try 6. Editing radio, let us know how long it's going to be.
Will do. Here they are.
3 minutes.
Apples first, and our symbol is the dragon. The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. In one age, called the third age by some, an age yet to come, an age long past, a wind rose above the misty peaks of Imferel. The wind was not the beginning. There are neither beginnings nor endings to the turning of the wheel of time. But it was a beginning. Crisp and light, the wind danced across fields of new mountain grass, stiff with frost. That frost lingered past first light, sheltered by the omnipresent clouds that hung like a death mask high above. It had been weeks since those clouds had budged, and the wan, yellowed grass showed it. The wind churned morning mist moving southward, chilling a small pride of Torm. They reclined on a flat, lichen-stained granite shelf, waiting to bask in morning sunlight that would not arrive. The wind poured over the shelf, racing down a hillside of scraggly mura trees with rope-like bark and green tufts of thick, needle-like leaves atop them. At the base of the foothills, the wind turned eastward, passing an open plain kept free of trees and scrub by the soldier's axe. The killing field surrounded 13 fortresses, tall and cut entirely from unpolished black marble, their blocks left rough-hewn to give them a primal feeling of unformed strength. These were towers meant for war. By tradition, they were unoccupied. How long would that last? How long tradition itself would be remembered in a continent in chaos remained to be seen. The wind continued eastward, and soon it was playing with the masts of half-burned ships at the docks of Takasram. Out into the sleeping bay, it passed the attackers, enormous great ships with sails painted blood-red. They sailed southward, their grisly work done. The wind blew onto land again, past smoldering towns and villages, open plains filled with troops and docks fat with warships. Smoke, war calls, and banners flew above dying grass and beneath the dockmaster's gloomy sky. Men did not whisper that this might be the end of times. They yelled it. The fields of peace were aflame. The Tower of Ravens was broken, as prophesied, and a murderer openly ruled in Shandar. This was a time to lift one's sword and choose a side, then spill blood to give a final color to the dying land. The wind howled eastward over the famed emerald cliffs and coursed out over the ocean. Behind, smoke seemed to rise from the entire continent of Shanchan.
Good read.
Oh, thank you. Sometimes the long narrator voices are the hardest ones to read. Because if you have a character voice, you can get into the character voice, you know? But the narrator, you want to emphasize the right things. And yeah, I find the long narrator things the hardest to sort of keep interesting and vary up as you read them.
Yeah. It's a good reading, though. Like, there's a lot of stuff in it to talk about. So, you carried through. You did a good job, even though it was long. Thank you. All right. So, stuff to talk about here. Obviously, the Towers of Midnight.
Yes.
We don't get the name, but this is the Towers of Midnight. Or the Towers of the Ravens. Are they the same thing? I assume this is Towers of Midnight because of the whole unoccupied thing, whereas I think the Tower of the Ravens is occupied.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. And it's also the guide, right? So this is the world of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, a.k.a. the big book of bad art, does
the white
describe.
Book. That's
the
the
big
kind
white
name.
Yeah, but if you open it up, the art's bad, right? Like it's not one of those things where you can be like, oh, it's just, some of this art isn't the best. And
in fairness, the art is unfinished.
The art is unfinished, yes.
So it's bad because it's literally not done yet, and unfinished art does look like that.
We can lay that at IWAT or Red Eagle Entertainment, whatever you want to call them. They've changed their name several times. They did pull out midway through their commitment of the book, which caused it to be published unfinished. So
you're pulling from that this is the Towers of Midnight? We know that?
I am referencing Watt Encyclopedia that says that the guide says that they are the Towers of Midnight.
Okay.
The Wikipedia says it.
Well, as everyone knows, Wikipedia is infallible.
Mm-hmm. Which is because I did not realize these were the Towers of Midnight up until just today, right? I always thought that it was, the Black Tower, the White Tower, maybe, one of the towers. I've asked, I think, in previous episodes, like, what are the Towers of Midnight? And people have been like, oh, maybe it's the tower in Shandar, but then I thought it was the Raven Tower, not these Towers of Midnight. Yeah.
This gives me almost like a abandoned Towers of Malkier kind of energy.
Yeah. I had to read this a couple of times and be like, wait, is the wind blowing through Malkier? But I thought that was 7 towers.
Yeah. So it's there's something really eerie and prophetic and something's going on with these in a way that reminds me of Malkier. And I do think there is a prophecy mentioning them somewhere, somehow.
Doing a quick search. Of course, it's very hard to find the prophecy Towers of Midnight because everything you Google just brings you right to the book.
I found it. I found it in the glossary of this book.
Nice.
13 fortresses of unpolished black marble located in Imfaral, Shanchan. At the time of the consolidation of Shanchan, it was the center of military might. The final battle of the Consolidation took place there, leaving Hawkwing's descendants in power. Since that time, it has been unoccupied. Legend says that in time of dire need, the Imperial family will return to the Towers of Midnight and right that which is wrong. See also Consolidation. So nothing about a prophecy, but,
Yeah. And the fact that there are 13 of them, like, you could be like, oh, those are the Forsaken, right? You got these 13 black towers of evil that are falling.
Sure.
I don't know. It's in my opinion, one of the poorest title choices. Like, at least the other ones have, like, on the heights, the
Paths are paved with daggers.
paths are paved with daggers. Knife of Dreams, again, is from a prophecy. But Towers of Midnight?
Here at the end of the book, there's a shadow prophecy with the line, "Yea, the broken wolf, the one whom death has known, shall fall and be consumed by the midnight towers." So that's in a dark prophecy at the end of the book. But it's a really cool set of words to have such a understated backstage footnotey kind of meaning. Would be nice to have it be a little more flamboyantly front and center, because it's a cool set of words. Towers of Midnight.
And also then, like, how is he consumed by the Towers of Midnight? I don't understand.
Well, all the dark prophecies don't come true because reasons. So, I'm not sure. It didn't seem like he was in any kind of serious conflict with the Shanshan. But, I like that idea, Athlon, that they would have been relevant to the Outriggers. Like a big part, a big forward. Oh, yeah, this was a tiny detail in the main series, but now it's a huge deal for the Outrigger. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense because it's a really cool visual and phrase.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just doing some research and I'm not finding anything.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Sorry about that. So nothing on the Towers of Midnight.
We'll figure it out or we won't. It's fine.
Basically, the wind comes to Dragon Mount.
It makes what would be called trade winds in another age. Okay, science boy, showing off that you took a meteorology 101. Congrats.
I bet the original phrase, I bet he wrote trade winds, and the editor was like, they didn't have trade winds back then. He's like, fine, in another age.
Which, true, they don't have trade winds yet. They haven't figured out sailing across the ocean because the Shanshan sort of preclude that. But yeah, I totally agree. That was totally what happened. He's like, trade winds. They're like, the winds to be known as trade winds. Like formerly and in future known as trade winds. And then, it gets to the continent and peters out until it is but a wispy little breeze as it curls around Dragon Mount, where Zenrand is going to enter the stage. Well, first, Almen Bunt. First, our awesome, cranky old apple farmer, cart driver from the Road Trip from Hell time travel adventure in book one.
And the thing is, he's not an apple farmer, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
He's like, this is my brother-in-law's.
Yes, his sister's farm.
Right? And his brother-in-law died, so he's there to help out. But like,
in a bubble of evil, mind you.
Yes.
Turned into a tree-shaped thing of sulfurish stuff.
And he's having to decide between helping his sons versus helping his sister because, like, his sons were robbed of all their food.
Right, because he left his sons behind to take care of his farm while he went to help his sister. And now everything's fucked.
Now everything's fucked because the food fails, right? Once the food fails, it's like, what do you do? What's the three meals away from chaos?
9, I think.
9
missed meals away from
3 days worth of meals.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can handle a day without like totally losing civic control, but once you've gone 3 days and your children are like really freaking out, like things get messy. And it's been a lot more than 3 days at this point in these books. We often talk about how fast it is, but if you're talking about the speed at which civil order and infrastructure breaks down, it's been a long time since the inciting incidents for some of these people.
Well, and I do think that like the food spoilage is increasing, right? There's not.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning it was like
the
pretty
rate
rare.
of change is changing.
And so now all of a sudden it went from like half the food spoiling to like all the food spoiling. And so they've become desperate in the last few days, which is, basically a recruiting tool for the side of the light.
But I mean, the Dark also treats it as a recruiting tool. Like, desperate people will do desperate things.
Right,
but like, it seems to really work in favor of the light if you just have anyone that's remotely competent. And also, Perrin has the Taviran halo effect that makes his food go bad a lot slower. So that also really, really helps.
Because that seems to be like what our heroes are able to do, right? They are preventing the Dark One's touch somehow, whether that's their connection to Rand, and now that he is of the light. But okay, so here's the thing. When we get to Perrin's section, that's back in time quite a bit before Rand has an epiphany, but Perrin is still able to protect the food from being spoiled.
I think it has to do with the fact that because they're tied to the pattern, reality is a little more solid where they are. They're like a anchor point almost. And so as reality is unraveling and breaking the rules are just less able to break around these people on whom the pattern hinges. Like, it's going to be the last place to break down. That's kind of how I canon it. And that's true regardless of where Rand's at in his epiphany status. That's just like inherent to who they are as ta'veren, I think. That's my headcanon. It's very, navel-gazing and meta, but...
Which kind of balances out the bubbles of evil seeking out the ta'veren and breaking the pattern around them.
And we do like balance in our ephemeral headcanon. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we get the story about how the man who died, right? He turned the corner and turned into an evil tree that smelled of sulfur, and then they cut it down.
Yeah, and that was his brother-in-law. So now he's up trying to take care of the orchard, but now he's standing there with his two nephews looking at a bunch of, barely started fruit that has all dropped to the ground at once.
Mm-hmm. It started late, it grew slow, but at least it was fruit, and then all of a sudden rotted and died.
And dropped to the ground, just all of it, so wildly unnatural. Like someone just hit a key command in a video game. Like, it's entire. And the kids are pretty freaked, and he's trying to be chill and cool about it, but there's not a lot of ways to be chill and cool about your orchard just like Control-Z failing on itself.
And this isn't like a person's orchard. This is like a region's orchard. This is like the Google of orchards, right? Like, this is like we produce more apples that distribute them to more places. Yeah,
this is an apple producing region. This is an economy supporting thing. This is not truly a bread basket, but a fruit basket sort of thing. It's a really big deal. It's not just 4 or 5 trees in the backyard.
In the way that like wool and tobacco are the industries of the two rivers, this place produces apples. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, this is their product agriculturally. And this is one of the biggest farms in the region. Like, it's a big deal.
And he's like, Almen Bunt's putting up a good face. He's like, oh, I've had worse, yada, yada, yada. But he's like, yeah, I've had worse, but at least the food wasn't going rotten, right? Like,
right.
I don't know what to do. Like, at this point, he is really just totally freaking out and trying to hide it from the younger guys.
A little bit of a callback to the very first prologue of the Sanderson books, right? Here's how an old farmer responds to the world falling apart and how he tells his younger generations like how to deal with the situation, and reflecting on how in all his years he's never seen anything like this, right? Like, we saw it with a random character at the beginning of the last book. Now we're seeing it with a character we know, albeit not since the first book, but still it's iterating. This is what it's like to just be a random person trying to exist in this world.
And I do like the way he's able to bring in that he makes this character instead of just some random farmer, someone we've encountered before. Although I do think it is stretched a little bit to make that one-ring merchant suddenly an apple farmer. I'm like, okay, that's.
He was a farmer before. He wasn't a merchant. He was just like running his farm products to town.
Oh, that's right. That's right. My bad.
How dare you?
How dare I?
How
dare I besmirch the name of the man? Well, and this is the guy, like, if we go back, right? Eye of the World, he was the one who gave him a scarf, which means he appeared in a couple of different, the flashbacks got all weird. Yeah. And so, like, he's the guy who you think, oh, are there 2 of them giving him a scarf? And it's like, no, we just see that scene twice.
It was foreshadowing that he would come back in book 13.
That's really what it was all about. It's like, yeah, he's gonna, totally, 100%. I like that idea.
Like the one that you keep seeing multiple times, and also the one that gave them a thing, not just a ride, but the scarves. Like, he gets to come back. He earned the right to get to come back in Last Battle Times.
And didn't he also identify them as like being hunted and like didn't say anything about it and helped them out? Like,
he offered to let them come out to his farm.
That's right. And hide
he
there.
Was like, if I don't know what you're running from, but if you need a place to hide, you can come to my farm. And Matt was all dagger matted out and ran away.
Right. And was like, ah.
He was like, fine, you're right. I shouldn't have offered. Here, have some scarves anyway. My house is over there if you change your mind. Fucking weirdos.
So yeah, I really like the way this comes together for him, and is just like, yeah, he's a good dude. He's a good dude, and it's obvious that he's trying to do the best for all the people in his employ and in his brother's employ, and just like, yeah, I respect him. I like him. He's a good character.
More of these callbacks. More of
Yes,
these callbacks
please.
is what we really, really wanted. This is exactly the kind of, this is the whole full circle nature of the series kind of thing.
Because so often you and I are like, oh man, why is he introducing all these characters to never use them again? And this is a great, like, this is what the characters should be used for. It's like, what have they been doing? Let's bring back all those characters from the initial book, from the initial series. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a backstory. We know their backstory because it was book 1. Like, you don't need the backstory in the notes. Like,
And they continue to live after that. You know, all these characters exist in the world, and like some of my favorite things is like when Pater comes back as the kid, the evil kid, or when what's his name gets his forehead stomped on and he shows up later.
Almorat Moore.
Oh, Morat Moore, yeah. So I like it when there's full circleness, and you know, I know some people are like, well, but you know, the world's a big place, and I think it makes sense to have someone who like appears and then disappears and you never see them again, because that's kind of how life works. But like, you know what?
No,
this isn't life. These are books.
This is a book.
Yeah.
Give me fantasy. So he kind of gives up. He thinks to himself, you know, kind of in an echo of what Rand has been going through up on the mountain in the preceding hours, is like, well, there it is. The fight's been lost. We've lost. We have nothing left. What can I possibly do? Maybe it's time to like join my wife in the afterlife. Like, this is it. I'm giving up. I might as well just die. And then that is in perfect echo of the land as one with the dragon, and the farmers are one with the land, so the farmers are one with the dragon too. And as he gives up, a beam of sunlight reaches him, and Zen Rand comes floating in on a chorus of angels.
It is a little bit like that, though, isn't it? It's just like, oh yeah, he's just gonna go ahead.
You can see it in that classic Mormon art style. You know, it's really like Renaissance through Mormon, flowing silken robes, long flowing hair.
Isn't there also like God came down from the mountain and presented? Like, isn't that a whole thing in religion? Is like coming down from the mountain
only a dozen 100 times?
Yeah.
Yeah. God's coming out of clouds, and deities and prophets and
Zeus down from Mount Olympus.
Creatures. Divine beings coming out of clouds is a thing. It's just a thing. They descend from mountaintops bearing tablets of wisdom. They throw lightning bolts. Like, it's just mountains and clouds and the divine are a whole thing.
Oh, the mountaintop sermon Jesus had that Buji is saying. Yeah.
I mean, that was at a slightly lower elevation, so that way more people could get to the amphitheater than, you know.
Well, everything was at a lower elevation than Dragon Mount. Jesus Christ, it's above the clouds.
Well, I'm just saying Moses went up on a mountain to talk to some aliens that had to pick him up from a sufficiently high elevation that the tractor beam wouldn't, you know, also get a bear or whatever. Yeah, also Mufasa, I mean, to lean on our 90s canon, right? Like...
Mufasa. Ooh, say it again. Mufasa.
But yeah, it's clouds and the divine is a thing. But I just, you know, it's just the way that like a sunbeam comes down and then Zen Rand comes down. I'm just like, I can see the Mormon magazine illustration of this very clearly.
But like, at what point, like, Rand is so clearly Jesus, right? Like, I get that there's the very Mormon
the most Jesus,
but Jesus is part of what he is, right? And his story and the telling. It's not just Sanderson coming in being like, I'm Mormon, therefore I'm going to invent this thing.
No, I'm just saying the visuals of it are like those flowy Renaissance paintings that the Mormon illustrators are aping. I'm just saying I can see the billowing silk. Billowing silk for no reason, just excess billowing silk everywhere. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Well, that's the wind, right? We spent pages describing the wind.
See, yeah, exactly. Totally
it's
canonical. It's
yeah.
totally yes. Yes. I have no problems with it. I'm just like, we really are using a Mormon illustrator to make sure we all get the Jesus imagery real clear. Which is fine. It's fine. It works.
All right. Jesus, move on.
No, he's going to really just like savor this moment and live in the now, because that's who he is now. I'm not lost, finally, right? He's really living in the present moment.
Oh yeah, no, this is him being like, oh, I've had enlightenment, right? This is enlightened Rand. He understands the point of life. Now, and he still has he's not perfect, right? And I think that's a good part of his enlightenment is him realizing like, and especially later on, he has to let go of his list. Like he still hasn't let go of the list, which I think is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, because he's human. He's an enlightened human. He's not pure enlightenment. He has not entered nirvana and stayed there, right? He briefly touched nirvana and has come back into a dynamic, embodied, suffering human experience, which involves tears and mistakes and anguish and all that stuff.
But I think a big, what I really like about this, because I do really like this scene, right? Like as much as I'm sort of criticizing, like it's a great scene. And I think the difference is when Rand cleansed the source, there was no moment where he got to come down and be like, I have done it. And everyone went, ooh. But now he's going around basically going from ally to ally being like, yo, I'm cool. And everyone being like, whoa, you are cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a profound difference in terms of the catharsis. Like we got to see the moment on the mountain and now we're seeing the after effects.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And I also love what he says about like to learn but not be overwhelmed is the balance. Like just coming right out of the gate with Rand gets balance now. All of these lessons that people have been begging for him to learn, like
is the balance. Yeah, he has balance. I think that's the real key here is like, oh yeah, he's balanced finally. He's not like Quendiar or getting harder.
Exactly.
And Wheel of Time, like the point of Wheel of Time is the balance, right? Like that is everything from the ancient symbol of the Aes Sedai to evil versus good to like the way the pattern enforces balance. And he's finally come to that realization, which makes him one with the pattern in a way that he hasn't been.
He's graduated to another set of lessons, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then Almen Bunt himself is looking at Rand, calling him lad 1 minute and then man the next, like in his head. Like Rand looks so young, but he is so old. And you can see Almen Bunt like going from, there's something odd about this lad. Wow, there is something about this man. This man is different.
Right.
Like the maturity that Rand has acquired, very visible to an outsider who doesn't know him. Right.
Even though he's, physically young, right? Like,
right. Exactly. He's literally
still a 20-year-old.
What, 23?
No. See, this is the thing that always throws me. He was 18 when he left the Two Rivers.
Oh, so he's like 21 at this point.
And he's like 21 now. Yeah.
God, so young.
Egwene was 16. He was 18 when they left the Two Rivers. And it's been just over 2 years. So depending on when birthdays are and all that kind of stuff, he's 21.
A very old 21.
This is like the world leader who can't like necessarily order a drink at a bar, right? Like,
right.
He would get ID'd. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then you look in his eyes and go, oh, ancient
You're
man.
400. Never mind.
You're 400. Yeah, you have the memories. So that's I think where the contradiction comes from, right? Is like physically he is, 20, but mentally he has the memories and the age and the wisdom of a 400-year-old.
Yeah. And then Rand says pick the apples now, because if you pick them, that puts a permanent save on them and they'll be good until you eat them. He somehow knows that in some metaphysical way, that like if you harvest them while I'm here, they will stay good. They won't go bad even when I leave.
It's like he can lock in that protection if they're picked. It's like while they're growing, they're still vulnerable. But once they're picked, they're no longer connected to the Dark One and they're insulated. And he can like freeze them with his goodness or something like that. There is like, what is he doing? Like, is he making the apples grow? Is this a bubble of good? Right? We've had the bubbles of evil.
I mean, I think so, right? Because the apples just had a bubble of evil hit them. So like the pattern would allow for Rand to bubble of good back at them.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? You ever watch Doctor Who?
Yeah.
So there's the moment where he's a new doctor, 11th Doctor, I think, and he gets his hand cut off. And like in that moment, it regrows because he's still doing his regeneration, right? And it's like, whoa, that's really cool. And that's kind of what it reminds me of Rand. Like he's still kind of in the middle of his epiphany.
Yeah.
And so there was this like bubble of evil that created all this bad stuff. And he's like, nope. Uno reverse. This is going to be a bubble of good because I'm in my epiphany moments. I can just like reverse the bubble of evil and make it a bubble of good and grow those apples right back.
Right. Yeah. He like has that attribute until his next short rest. And
Exactly.
then it goes
totally,
away.
Totally.
And it still basically is in effect when he goes to Tarvalin, right? Like all the tea and wine and everything gets good like while he's there, and then it gets bad again once he leaves. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's just his like normal aura presence that's affecting his ability to like.
yeah, I suppose that's true. That does stay with him for the rest of the time.
But the growing of the apples, not necessarily them being good. Being good is something he gets for the rest of the time.
Well, and locking in the goodness.
And locking in the goodness, yeah. Well, I think that's because they were grown.
But I guess he doesn't go to any other farms. Yeah, maybe he was singing the growing song. Maybe he came down the mountain like singing.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like a walking song, right? Because we know that the song is more about vibes than about lyrics. And like maybe he was just doing like a Two Rivers walking song, like revisiting his roots and being like, yeah, sweet for Manetha. And like suddenly noticed the apples were growing and was like, oh shit, I'm going to make someone's day. And then just walked through the orchard.
I think he's literally, I don't think this was the song of growing, right? I don't think that that's something he was using in this situation. Like, it is something he uses later to grow those trees in the tent, right? Like, he's totally using it at that point.
And the peaches.
And the peaches. But maybe, I don't know. I feel like they grew too fast.
No, that's what happens in the peach scene, is he makes them go through this exact cycle. He literally repeats this performance, but with the peaches in a private courtyard. And that works as an omen for the Shanshan.
Oh, I've forgotten that scene.
He might very well be using his epiphany vibes to discover how to do the Song of Growing on those apple orchard.
Well, and again, he doesn't need to, like, he remembers the Song of Growing now.
Or maybe maybe it is just the lyrics. Maybe he doesn't know the lyrics. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe Rand did that. Because we know he does it to the
peaches. Yeah.
We know that. So he might be doing it for the first time here.
I could see that.
Or maybe it's just epiphany vibes. I mean, either way, we don't know. It's off screen either way.
Right. We don't have an idea of like, oh, did he do something to cause them to grow, or was that just a side effect of like Rand's goodness and wholesomeness and coming down off the mountain and being near his presence and he's one with the land and all that kind of stuff.
Well, Light Blinded Fool brings up a good point that the tea and all of that is pattern balancing, but peaches and apples are growing. Right, the song is for growing. Maybe there's something to that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the song is for growing, but like that's still balancing, right? Like because the Dark One is destroying, growing is balancing the destruction.
Maybe it's both. Maybe he used the Song of Growing while he had epiphany vibes, and that's why it's so excellent.
Yeah, I mean, a combination of things, right? And this is leading towards him being able to light the pipe, right? He's able to do things without necessarily embracing the power. He's affecting the pattern. He's affecting the way the world is working. And this is one example of it. And that's going, I think, maybe foreshadowing for him fighting the Dark One.
I mean, he's starting to get some real creator-esque powers, which makes him seem maybe leveled up to being able to deal with all caps Dark One.
Right. Because he's doing things finally. He's affecting reality without using the one power or the true power.
Yeah.
Now, maybe he's using the power of the singing, but I think he's just using the power of Taviran, the power of balancing the pattern. Right. That's really what he is. He's the balance to the Dark One. And before, when he was, Darth Rand, he wasn't balancing the Dark One at all. And so the Dark One was just winning. Things were getting just worse and worse and worse. He was balanced in the beginning, and then he became Darth Rand, and then all the Taviran events around him were bad.
Yeah.
There were none of the good events. And now he's just creating good events. And the more the Dark One gets free, the more powerful he becomes. Because, on two sides of a scale, if you put more weight on the other side, you end up with, for some reason I think of V equals IR. Right, like Rand is the voltage, and the Dark One is current. And you have to balance them out. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I like the idea that he used the song on these apples. I just like it.
I'm going to headcanon it. Yeah, I like the headcanon. That's how he grew them.
It gives me better vibes. So.
And that he's kind of doing the whole, like, he's good, but he's also a little bit of a charlatan sometimes. He has his little tricks to make himself, like, feel more powerful than he is. And we see him use that with the Sean Chan.
I mean, is that is that a trick, or is that just using your knowledge that they don't have?
Yeah, I mean, both. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
isn't that what magic is? Is just like knowing something the audience doesn't?
That is most magic, yes.
Mm-hmm. Or at least illusions.
Yeah, and not all magic is illusion.
They're not tricks, Michael. They're illusions.
I would call illusions tricks for sure. That's kind of the whole point. But whatever. That's just me. I like getting into semantic arguments. Anyway, Almen Bunt remembers who Rand is, just in case anyone in the audience wasn't quite picking that up because they hadn't done rereads umpteen times between that book and this book. Maybe you only read it once and you need to be reminded.
I honestly think, though, when he says, "Do I know you?" he's like literally referring to, like, are you the Dragon Reborn?
Well, also that. But it does say remembering an odd pair of youths he had given a lift to in his cart years ago. He does literally say that. So the audience at least knows that this is in fact that guy.
Right.
And then Rand's like, I mean, yeah, probably, men are often speaking of me. He just walks away. Like, what a celebrity move.
Well, and that's why I think he's like, yes, people are often talking to me because I'm the Dragon Reborn. Like, that's
right,
Rand
exactly.
At least thinks that's where he recognizes him from. I don't know if Rand realizes this is the same.
No, Rand doesn't know. No. Rand has no idea he's met this man before. Only us, the audience, are sure of that, I think. Almen Bunt is unsure. Rand is clueless.
I guess, okay, that makes sense. That's because I thought Rand remembered him as well.
I don't think so. At least not in this scene.
So I'm like, dude, Rand, come on, that's kind of shitty. Like, you're supposed to be the good celebrity who remembers people and is like, oh, yeah, bro, you gave me a scarf. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it would have been nice if Rand had said, probably, people are often speaking of, wait, a scarf? Yeah. Like, that's how that should have gone.
Mm-hmm. Or if he'd, like, left the scarf for him, right? Like, returned the scarf. I think that would have been kind of neat.
This isn't your scarf, but I hope that it replaces the one that you gave me. Kind of like how he was with Tam and the sword.
Exactly.
Yeah. That would have been awesome.
Like, I wasn't able to give you... I can give you back what you gave me in my moment of need.
Right. And it's this humble scarf, but it means the world. Da, 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 da. Yeah. It was Rand who was sick in his cart, I think.
Yeah, because Rand had... it was channeling sickness.
Yeah. Matt was blinded from the lightning that Rand channeled.
Yes, but then Rand was the one having weird dreams and visions where he wasn't sure what time it was or who he, that's where we get the repeated vision where we see Almen Bunt twice because Rand is like confused about reality. He's like, wait, what the fuck? Where am I? Who am I? What am I doing? What time of day is it?
Matt was holding it together barely despite the dagger and the blindedness because Rand needed him. But
he was very suspicious of Almen Bunt the whole time.
Yeah. Which is probably why Bunt doesn't remember Rand, is because he's paid way more attention to Matt that trip. Because Matt was the one next to him being weird, whereas Rand was just sleeping in the back and occasionally shouting in nightmares.
Well, he did know he was sick, right? And he was taking care of him because he was sick. And and he knew they were in trouble too. That's the other reason. Right,
yeah, because he was laughing at the innkeeper who was talking to the Murdral, and he's like, you're a dumbass for talking to Murdral. The other guy was like, well, you're a dumbass for driving at night. And that was when Rand was like, we should talk to him.
Yeah, totally.
If I'm recalling all that correctly. It was the road trip from hell. I might be confusing some of the instances.
Some of my favorite scenes. I really do. That trip with Matt and Rand just made me fall in love with the books, I think, in the beginning.
Yeah, and all these years later, I still can't keep track of exactly which farmer did which part of the road trip. But whatever.
No, it doesn't really matter. Because the only one that's important is Almen Bunt. All the other ones were just like, yeah.
Exactly.
Like gave him little scenes, but whatever.
So yeah, Rand walks away, more or less, saying like, he's got like a 50-mile radius on his charm or whatever, so it'll be fine. And Almen Bunt runs into town or into the house or wherever it is that people are, into the village, and is like, oh my God, we gotta go get the apples. We gotta go get the apples. You guys, you don't understand. We gotta go get the apples. And it's a good end to a chapter.
No, and that's where we get he has to do the apples first before they go which is basically before they go fight in the last battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 things. Rand talks about, I have to do something I've been putting off. I doubt she will be pleased by what I tell her. I believe that's referencing talking to Egwene.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the next thing he does, because Almen Bunt thinks about how they're on the slopes of Dragon Mountain. They're so close to the Aes Sedai, and he doesn't like being that close to him. So yeah, Rand is going to walk from the height of Dragon Mount all the way down to the river bottom where Tarvalin is and talk to her.
Again, if you remember Sanderson, the walk to Uruthiru, where they're walking to the mountain instead of coming down off of it, but it's a very similar vibe. The Way of Kings. The Way of Kings in his first book is the book exists inside the book, right? So his first book is The Way of Kings, but in the world there is a book called The Way of Kings where a king describes his journey walking to the Great Mountain. So very similar vibes there. And then the other thing, there is a lightness to the air, warped and bent around Rand, as opposed to the darkness that was around him before. And so that's when I talk about, like, I legitimately think he's getting anti-bubble of evil powers.
Totally. He literally is warping the other direction.
Mm-hmm. If he has any power, that's where I think the power is coming from. That's different than the power he had with channeling.
Definitely.
And then there's this moment where Almen Bunt says, "Gather everyone," and everyone. And I always think of Leon the Professional. If you're familiar with that movie, there's a point where Gary Oldman turns and he goes, "Get everyone," and he goes, "Who? You mean everyone?" He goes, "Everyone," with the most intense yelling. And so that's
Oldman.
So now of course, Almen Bunt is Gary Oldman in my head because of that line where he turns and goes, "Everyone."
I have no problem with this. Casting Almen Bunt as with Gary Oldman. Yeah, let's do it.
And let's see. I'm going to have to drop the GIF in chat. Eamon Oldman. Nice, light-blinded fool. So, do we need the apples?
Yeah. Nice. Gary Oldman.
All right, so that's all I have for that chapter, I think.
Yep, I am ready to move on to Chapter 2, Questions of Leadership, with the wolf symbol, because Perrin time, and also a bit of Galad, who's basically just Perrin time.
Yeah, definitely more Perrin time. Questions of leadership. And that's does Perrin want to be a leader? And obviously, does Galad become leader of the White Cloaks?
Yeah, exactly. Neither of them want it. One of them accepts it much more gracefully than the other. But it is a question of who gets to lead. That is what both armies are kind of dealing with. Well, one army has already made up its mind, and the leader still has to figure it out, whereas Galad's army literally just decided to change leaders, so it's a little more acute for them.
And we'll have a correction when we get there. We were wrong.
Yeah, we'll get there.
And I think the other really important thing to realize is this is a huge step back in time, right? It's not obvious. It's really not obvious considering the Rand thing happens before this in the chapter. But this is, as far as I can tell, right? There's this line in the opening paragraph. "A few days ago, the pervasive cloud cover had turned black, darkening like the advent of a horrible storm." I assume that happened when Semirog took off Rand's hand. That when he went fully Darth, that's when the cloud cover went from gray to black. And so I think that's our timestamp, right? We are a few days after Rand gets his hand taken off.
Okay.
That would be my guess. I haven't confirmed that that's the case, but...
Okay, but that makes sense. Yeah.
We're deep in Darth Rand at this point.
Okay, I like that as let's even if you're wrong about the exact event, we're roughly that's about how far back we are. And also he talks about how it's been a month since they left Malden, a distance he had planned to cover in a week. And I feel like that's a little bit of a nod to, so there's some timeline funkiness going on here.
Yeah,
so just
totally.
understand that there's some wrinkles and folds that we didn't really want, but we have.
And so, syncing that up with it's been a month since he left Malden. Remember, Fael was only in Malden for a month and a half.
Right. It's been almost as long again since, yeah, totally.
Because we had the knots, and he had like 50 knots or something like that, which is like, it's not even 2 months. So, yeah, we're in this one line. We're delaying pretty much as the last 3 books of Perrin.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So some time is passing, and in order to let time pass, we have what is, I consider, the weakest bubble of evil. It's really just here for plotline reasons, which is random red snakes appeared in camp, bit a bunch of people, everybody got sick. The channelers got more sick than most.
How convenient. I mean, inconvenient.
Yeah, how inconvenient. And so, plot means the channelers have been useless. Which, if you want, somehow Taviran, right? Taviran is keeping in place because he needs to recruit the White Cloaks. So the bubble of evil is somehow good for him, right? Like, I don't like it. I don't like the Taviranness.
Bad luck, good luck.
I don't like that Taviranness is using evil to make things happen for him, right? The bubbles of evil always seem to be random.
Yeah.
No other time do our characters benefit from it.
Yeah.
So. Not my favorite. Not my favorite bubble of evil.
Not my favorite.
Also because it's told in very quickly in retrospective, when it should be this like big thing, but it seems like the only.
Well, if it's going to be that weak, I'd rather not spend page time on it. So
that's true. God though, but like, would that not have been a better chapter than what we get here, or a better POV? Is like rather than being like,
just done this much more efficiently, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
So yeah, Perrin is in the process of interviewing yet another batch of random mercenaries, bandits, vagabonds, people who are willing to behave in exchange for regular meals. And that's really how he builds the force he has. In addition to scooping up odds and ends of actual armies, he's also just building this backdrop grab bag noise of men with swords who are hungry.
And Taviran is making him recruit an army. He doesn't want an army. He's getting a fucking army.
Too bad, Perrin.
Too bad.
With it. Yeah, it's really funny how he's like, everyone needs to understand that a thing is a thing, and I'm not a leader. And it's like, sir, you are the only one in denial about the fact that a thing is a thing right now.
100%.
Everyone is calling you a leader. You are effectively a leader. You're the one being delusional by claiming you're not a leader. Everyone else is actually very feet to the ground, head screwed on straight about this.
Right. You've been leading.
Literally. For
effectively.
like 2-3 months at this point, which is a long time in book terms.
Mm-hmm. And like everybody has sworn fealty to you. You have queens who sworn fealty to you. And like, despite your best efforts, your force keeps growing, right? You went into Malden and you came out with more troops than you went in with. You have, oh my God, there's this moment where she's like, yeah, and all the guys shine suddenly want to fight for some fucking reason. And all these people who've never picked up a spear before find that they're incredibly talented at it right before the last battle. It's like you are building an army unlike any other.
Yeah. Fael really breaks the fourth wall pretty hard in an effort to try to speed this plot along, and it still doesn't help.
It doesn't really help much at all. And also, I guess my frustration is also like, at no point does Perrin's army become a deciding factor in the last battle. So it's like he does all of this work and all of this like effort to get these people together, and then they're just like another kind of not very effective army or force during the last battle because they're mostly non-channelers.
They just do fighty stuff, and that's not very interesting. Like, I think there's a good scene with Tam where he's doing Trolloc slaughter, just like absolutely epic and stuff. Like, infantry fighty stuff. There's only so many pages we can spend on it.
Yeah, and it's like, oh yes, the Two Rivers force is good with arrows, but then why did he need the White Cloaks? Why did he need to hang out with the Shanshan? Why did he need Alejandra and the Winged Guards? Like,
no, because they just fill in on stuff that we don't look at because it's just backdrop. Perrin brings the backdrop cast. They're necessary, but they don't get page time.
So, and I think that is one of the biggest flaws of the last battle, is as big and as epic as it is, and it's big and epic. There are so many armies in this world that just don't really get page time or screen time or are shown to be effective in battle.
Well, that's what you get when you try to get half a continent's worth of people fighting in a single battle. You're going to lose some focus.
It is, yeah. There's some detail that gets lost for sure, yeah. And so we get broken down into these big, broad groups, and then you only really see from a minority of those big, broad groups.
Well, then you headcanon and fan fiction and all of that to fill in the gaps based on what you know going in.
Yeah. Still could have written another 3 books about this thing. Like the last
30.
battle itself could have been like another 3 books. Yeah.
Seriously. And yeah, so we get a little check-in with some characters, right? We got Arganda and Galyen. They've gotten over their honeymoon period in the relief of getting their respective, or in the relief of Malden's aftermath, and they're back to fighting, which we've never seen them not fighting. But apparently, according to Perrin, there was a period where they weren't fighting.
Well, because we have this sort of no more common enemy, right? There's this idea that they had this common enemy in the Shido, and the queens were gone, and everybody wanted their leaders back, and everyone reunited behind Perrin to get their leader back. But now we're in this situation where the leaders are back, and everyone's like, well, what do we do now? Are we following Perrin? Are we, what's our goal? Shouldn't I be elevated over those other people because I'm more important to Perrin, right? That level of just like internal fighting. And not to mention you've got the whole thing with Berelain and Fael that hasn't gotten worked out yet. Shockingly, even though they worked out before she got taken to Malden, basically. We have the added thing of everyone thinking Berelain slept with Perrin, or Perrin slept with Berelain in her tent. And that's leading to all sorts of problems.
Yeah, you think they would have resolved that by now. But no, in classic book fashion, nothing has happened in the intervening time. And now things will happen, that the focus of the narrator is back on the scene. So what happens next is they connect with a scout that was left behind from their baggage train that they sent ahead of Malden, right? Remember, Perrin sent Basilgil and everyone and all of the baggage forward to Andor in case Malden went badly. The baggage train and the non-combatants wouldn't be taken by the Shido. So they're looking for them on the road, and they have now come across a scout who was left behind to tell them, hey, the plan changed because of road conditions, and you got to turn left here. And that's all very Ta'Veren-y. It guarantees the intersection with the White Cloaks, but, it's important.
No, that's them being manipulated by Grendel.
Oh, right. That's not even Ta'Veren, right? That's Grandal. That's the trap. That's the trap. I wonder if Grandal's the one messing with his dreams. He mentions his dreams being messy here again. I wonder if it's Grandal instead of Lanfear, and Grandal's less in his head because she doesn't know him as well. Because she's manipulating stuff in the real world, so I guess she's not as dreamy of a person, though. Lanfear's really the dream bitch.
She's not. I think Lanfear's in his dreams while Grendal is fucking with his army.
Man, getting assaulted by 2 Forsaken at the same time, even if they're not working together, that's still a lot.
But yeah, we 100% learned that like the road conditions are totally fine, right? This was absolutely just...
I forgot about the Grendal.
This is the whole trap set up by Grendal, and she wants the army to be in the right place at the right time, and it just happens to be where the White Cloaks are, and like... Yeah, there's all sorts of reasons why it doesn't go off the way she plans, but them getting this message and sending their supplies in the other direction is 100% Grendal trying to get his army into place for the trap that's coming.
Good damn catch. I blew right past that every other read ever.
Because it's like, wait, why are they? Yeah, because
I'm just like, muddy roads, do whatever,
setup.
It happens.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah.
You believe just like Perrin did.
I am not clever like Grandal.
Oh, the other thing I want to point out in this chapter is that Perrin has a blacksmith's puzzle that he's constantly figuring that like this is the hardest puzzle he's ever encountered, and he's having a lot of trouble pulling it apart, and like every time he encounters trouble in the real world, he fingers the puzzle because he hasn't figured out how to fix the puzzle that came out of Malden. And it's like, okay, I know it's not the Amyrlin seat, but it's just as blatant, the blacksmith's puzzle. A
blacksmith's puzzle for the blacksmith's puzzling.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's cute, but it is a little on the nose.
It's really on the nose. It's just like, oh, okay. And I don't think he ever I don't remember him solving the puzzle at any point, or this coming back up, or being carried through after this chapter.
It comes up again. I think he manages to make some progress on it. Maybe he just hucks it away at the end. I don't remember. We should try to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I don't remember what happens with this puzzle. That's definitely something to look out for going forward. Is like, what's going on with this puzzle? And is it something that like works as an analogy going forward?
Yeah. So then Perrin goes through his laundry list of once everyone goes away and does their job, then everything can go back to the way it was. And it's just like, I'm really ready for you to stop thinking that that's an option. You can never step in the same river twice, okay? It's been a long time. You can't go back to the way things
You can't
were.
go back. And like everybody else knows the last battle is coming. You're friends with the Dragon Reborn. You know you have a role in the last battle. What the fuck are you doing, Perrin? Like, what the fuck? Like, I really get frustrated with this. Like, you need an army for the last battle. You have an army. Like, why are you trying to send these people home? Like, you don't know that, oh, look, the sky's been dark for months and turned ultimate crazy black. Oh, and I'm friends with the Dragon Reborn who's going to be at the last battle and is preparing for the last battle. Like, I just,
Yeah, better go home and bury my head in the sand like a child.
Right? I get so frustrated with Perrin in these sections.
He regressed. He regressed really far.
They regress so hard. Like, he needs to be like, you know what? I have been leading these people.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't need to be a struggle. It needs to be like, I see what's coming out of Malden. I see the last battle coming. I don't want to be a leader, but I have to be.
Yeah, exactly. Galad knows it. Galad does it in like 2 fucking seconds. Like 2 seconds.
It's your duty. Pick it up. Run with it. I don't need 4 more chapters about this.
Yeah. So that's happening. And then we think about Massima, right? There's the conclusion of we know that Perrin knows that Massima will not pop out of the woodwork to haunt him. He found the body. He knows that Massima is very super dead, and that's not going to be an issue. And he's going to go report his quote-unquote failure to Rand. And he's unsure how Rand will feel about it, and we know that Rand will go, bummer, and move on.
I really just wanted him to stop killing people. That was all.
Like, I guess you accomplished the core of the mission.
Mm-hmm. It does seem, I always think it's kind of sad, though, that you have like all these people who should have been the people of the dragon, who would have supported Rand and just like got murdered taking Malden.
The Dark One really laughed about that one.
Yeah. I mean, and I know they were corrupted, and I know Massima, has the Mashadar corruption, the whatever you want to call it, and that none of those people were any good, that they had, they smelled bad or whatever. So that
It wasn't Mashadar, it was whatever happened to him in the portal world, and then whatever Grandal infected him with.
Right,
zealotry.
right, and that was infecting all of his followers, right? So there's 0 chance that we're ever gonna redeem those people, but
They were cult people, they weren't evil.
exactly, right? Like, I feel like there should be, like, I would have loved to see something with Aram, where like Aram becomes an example and is like leading all those people when Massima dies, and like Perrin wins him over, and with that conversion is able to win over a bunch more of the dragon folk.
Yeah.
The Dragonsworn.
Exactly.
Like, I would love to see that redemption through Aram instead of what felt like a fairly random, nonsensical death. And I get that it kind of proves the point that Perrin like wasn't really doing his job, but like that makes me feel bad. I want Perrin to be doing his job.
Right, and then Perrin uses that outlier of a failure to justify falling down on the rest of his job that he is capable and competent at doing.
Yeah. So I want some competency porn, right? I want to see Perrin being an incredibly good leader, incredibly competent, bringing people together and like really unifying these forces before the last battle. And that's just not what we get. And it kind of makes me sad. I really think that there was a better opportunity to do something interesting with Perrin's plot line and with Aram and the Prophet and stuff like that. But, Robert Jordan just didn't have a plan for him, right? There was no notes about Perrin.
Yeah. And Fael is doing her best, right? She is breaking the fourth wall. She is listing his accomplishments in a sultry voice because she does see competency porn. She is saying that Malden was good for their plot. Like, she is doing everything she can to drag this man forward, and it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work because it's very much a tell not show, right? She's telling us how competent he was. We're not really seeing his competency in any way, shape, or form.
And he could be rising to the occasion and working with what she's saying, but alas, he is just stubborn as a mule.
2 Rivers. That's how we do it.
Yeah. And then as Perrin is dealing with the very strange concept that Malden was good for Fail. We have an Aiel coming up to say, hey, we found, I think, white cloaks is what they're saying. You got to deal with the fact we see white cloaks. But we cut over to said white cloaks with Galad. And here is where we get to start issuing corrections in this POV.
A couple things about Perrin stuff to say. He never figured out why Alejandra had met with the prophet and probably never would. I feel like that's a meta line where, like, Sanderson looked into it and was like, yeah, Jordan didn't really say why they were meeting. Enora, yeah.
Yeah. Tying a bow on the fact that there will never be a bow tied on it is like, thank you for letting us know that that's going to be annoying.
And, like, we have our theory. She thought she could redeem him, and it turns out she couldn't, right? Like, I think that's what she eventually says. Like, I thought I could redeem him. I can't. Yeah, moving on. But that doesn't explain what. Yeah, I don't like that explanation. Also about Massima, he was robbed, right? So, like, he was killed by bandits.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a deception on Fail and Chafael's part.
Totally. They picked up 5,000 people in the last few weeks, so whatever they went into Malden with, they came out with more, and then another 5,000. And then we end the POV with a messenger saying, hey, there's something ahead you might want to see. 2 chapters later, it turns out that's a patch of the Blight has gotten transported.
Oh, that's what it is. It's not the white cloaks. It's a bubble of area of effect evil. I don't know.
The pattern is breaking down and location doesn't matter as much anymore, right? We see things switch.
The landscape is glitching. It's data moshing.
Like we've seen that in the White Tower. We've seen it like hallways are changing, and this is just a bigger version of the Blight. Or you could say the Blight spreading.
Is spreading in a non-congruent manner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, spores are drifting on the wind and alighting in new places.
It's like patches of death and evil and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is not quite yet the White Cloaks. They have not encountered them yet.
Okay. Look, guys, I have not read these last 3 books very many times. I've said it before. I will say it again. I will not apologize. I will just be wrong.
No, we're definitely on a journey of discovery for these last 3 books, more so than we were with the rest of them. Although, I feel like the podcast started out as a journey of discovery and being like, I want to talk about these books because I don't know everything about them. Not that I know everything about them and I want to impart it, but because there's a lot of mysteries I haven't figured out.
Yeah, I know the lore up until these 3 books, and now I'm just like, Still helpful for the read through, but
research is important.
We got that right, I'm glad to know that you corrected that, so we know where we're at.
Again, I didn't until I was. That's why I was flipping through. I was like, I've got my notes in here. I feel like I have some things to say, and those notes did tell me what that patch was. So yeah, next is the Galad POV.
The Galad POV. And this is, I feel like there's multiple corrections we have to make in this section. Because I thought it was days where he'd been tortured before he got rescued out of this. No, it hasn't been. It's literally just been a day and he's anticipating torture. And also, we thought that Trom and his cohort is who rebelled and killed Asunawa. It's not.
It's Asanawa's. I think I stated that Asanawa's people were participated in that, but it's not just participated. They did the whole thing.
They initiated, they completed.
They basically saw, the person at the head of their party was corrupt and doing things for his own benefit rather than the good of the people. And rather than sticking to party politics, they went ahead and actually, brought that person down. Now, by killing him, but...
I mean, they are the White Cloaks. That's kind of their only response to anything. We have to stay in the canon.
Sometimes they torture, then kill.
Sure. Yeah. Just saying, the analogy can only go so far without breaking canon. But yeah, they looked at what was patently and clearly false, and they responded according to reality instead of whatever their leader wanted them to think. And we have Galad getting told that he, instead of being tortured to death, will be made the leader of what is left of the White Cloaks. But we start with him in the tent, kind of getting his bearings and again thinking about how he still has crusted blood on him and he's anticipating torture. I was totally wrong about the timeline. I thought this was days. I literally thought this was days. It's hours.
Yeah, because I think I was he goes to sleep and basically wakes up, and in that time he's the things happen.
Yeah, exactly.
He wakes up going oh yeah, no, you're free now.
Yeah, he literally passes out from the pain, and when he comes to, it's all over.
It's all over. So he's cleaning himself with this strip of cloth, which I'm always like, I'm so grossed out by that. Like cleaning yourself off with spit and a piece of canvas. Like spit is just the grossest thing to clean yourself with. Because like,
I'm also like, this man is very dehydrated. I don't think he has that much spit to give.
no, it's just very.
I mean, I get it. He's encrusted with dirt and blood, like any moisture in a storm. But it's gross. And
It's gross.
I roll my eyes, but I'm also pleased at his thought, or his naive thought of, the one he was angry at was Asunaba, who took what was true and muddied it. There were many who did that in the world, but the children should be different. And I'm like, thank you for articulating the entire fallacy of your belief system.
Right.
The children aren't different. They never have been. You never should have joined them based on their actual actions.
But they have
the
a
world
philosophy.
is different. There is no such thing as a perfect philosophy that makes people good. People are good or bad in the communities that they are in. It has nothing to do with the philosophy at the top, or very little to do.
It has more to do with the incentive structure rather than the
Yes.
philosophy.
Yes.
Like what are people incentivized to do? And in the White Cloaks, they're incentivized to torture people to prove that they're dark friends.
Yeah, exactly. And Galad should have seen that.
Because you're trying to, because every time you do, you have like this victory where you're like, oh yeah, I have taken down the dark friends. That makes me victorious. And it's like, actually, you just killed a bunch of innocent people and called them dark friends, but you're incentivized to call them dark friends because then otherwise you're just killing innocent people and an ineffective fighting force.
Yeah.
Whereas the Aes Sedai have an actual like enforced oaths that you have to follow.
Yep. But he uses the cleaning as much to center himself as kind of a meditation as anything else. So
sure.
I'll allow it because, we need him to, again, prove that he's got the mind of someone who could learn to channel if he just wanted to.
I think that I would have liked it if he'd been left with a little bit of water that he could like dip the cloth in, like a little bit of drinking water.
Yeah, a bucket of wash water kind of thing. Yeah, that would have been a lot more satisfying and less. Yeah, it's gross. I kind of just skipped over everything to do with spit. Like, no.
Yeah.
No. Lucky. Yes, lucky.
And so, he's like, my strategy worked. I'm victorious. I saved the lives of my people, even though like I'm going to suffer for it. Like I won, essentially, is what he's thinking. And I can win again by not giving in and claiming not to be a dark friend. I will be killed as a man who, proclaiming I am of the light the whole time. Is sort of what his thoughts are.
Right. He's like, I can stand here naked as the day I was born, but still be a man of honor who knows that he will not break under torture. He's like psyching himself up. He's standing straight. He's thinking about how he's definitely not going to crack under torture. He is galading as hard as he can.
Totally. Because not because like he thinks he can resist torture, but because it would be the wrong thing to do to give in to the torture.
Right. He will not lie. It's literally against his entire nature to ever lie. So he knows that he's not going to do that.
And there's this moment here where he says his pains were nothing now. He felt insect bites that were worse. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so.
Him and Rand and Egwene just like, I don't feel my body. What body?
No,
Ooh,
pain.
huh?
I
Never
can
met
be more
her.
pain. Yeah, that is sort of an interesting like part of the Wheel of Time philosophy is this idea that you can separate from your brain and like just not experience pain.
And we've talked about it a lot with respect to like people in the real world and their chronic pain issues. But this is Galad dealing with a very acute pain issue. This is not chronic at all. It's just, I think Robert Jordan had a specific relationship with pain and suffering. What with the whole going through the military and everything. I think he knew how to separate from acute discomfort in a way that he gives to all of his main characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then, his allies walk in. And he goes, excuse me? Did you just break your oaths? Go back out there and surrender to the men you just killed, right?
He's like, I told you not to fight. Like, we didn't.
He's like, you turned your swords on fellow children. Like, he is so pissed off at first. He wants to reject this. And they're like, nah, you kind of were so honorable. We had to do a murder. And he's like, shit, that's like my entire life's ambition.
It was wrong. What they were doing to him was wrong. Like, and that's for once the children believe that when it happens to one of their own, right?
Yeah, when it comes after the golden boy of their own organization, then the line's too far. But all the innocent women and children from other nations that were killed beforehand, that wasn't a line too far.
That's not a problem. Yeah. Yeah. No, I have some issues with the White Cloaks.
One,
Just one
or
or
two.
One or
Fortunately,
two.
I think Robert Jordan meant for them to be that, so it's okay.
Yes, they're
we don't have to
well-written-
be
they're
mad at
well-written
Robert
assholes.
Jordan about
Right.
this. He wrote them to be this.
The consequences, they killed about a third of the questioners. We have we saw the Amadicians, who were a good portion of the force, and they didn't interfere. They want to be away from the Shan-Chan, so they're willing to join the White Cloaks.
Which, like, fair. I mean, an invading force versus your own homebrew militia, yeah, I would probably side with the homebrew militia. Better the devil you know, right?
I guess.
Especially because Amadicia is extremely anti-channeling, and the Shan-Chan are coming in with channelers. Like, the calculus makes a lot of sense for an
Okay.
infantry force like these people represent.
I like the way you put that there's this sort of common anti-channeling bend among the two of them, and that helps them.
I mean, Amadicians are where the White Cloaks are from, right? Like, they have a big cultural overlap.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay,
It's the same
Amadicia and White
nation.
Cloaks is
Yeah.
kind of the same nation. So in a lot of ways, Amadicians are like, yeah, we are. White Cloaks are Amadicians in a way,
Right.
even though they're not technically.
In the face of a common enemy like the Shan-Chan, the differences are immaterial. We're all Amadicians, even the ones who are, children from other nations. Like, nah, we like you guys better than whoever these flame-throwing, Aes Sedai-wielding invaders are.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Galad, the way Perrin should, looks at the weight of men offering their swords to him and says, I accept. Someone needs to drive this train, and I know that I have the capacity to drive it effectively, so that's what I'm going to do. Even though I have a lot of imposter syndrome, I can't leave it up to just anyone.
And then he is the leader from then on out. He doesn't question it. He doesn't second guess it. He doesn't
even make huge mistakes, aside from listening to some of his subordinates a little too much in the face of overwhelming evidence. But he doesn't make, like, massive casualty event blunders.
No. He does, like, the only thing he does that he shouldn't is, like, basically declare a war against Perrin. And then he fortunately listens to Perrin well enough to get out of that.
Which in large part is because Perrin saves him from a dark friend trap or from a Trolloc trap. That's a lot of what helps. But I mean, they were setting up for battle. He was going to make a huge mistake, but he manages to not make a huge mistake. So we're going to count that as a almost win.
Yeah.
And I like how he uses his faith in the light to help protect him too. He's like, you know what? I don't think I'm ready, but the children have made their decision and the light will have to protect them for it. I'm like, that's a good approach. To just be like, you know what? You're right. You've chosen me and the dice have now been cast. Good luck with me.
And he says we're marching to Andor. I assume that's basically to join the battle, right? That's because that's where he's like, I can get to Elaine. I can join the battle. She will have me.
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
The idea is like she can tell me where to point the White Cloaks for the last battle because she's the biggest kind of army nation.
Yeah. He's basically anticipating her being the meta general that she's going to be assigned to be later. He's almost anticipating that. He's like, well, Elaine is a good person to go to if I don't know who else to talk to. She'll know how to handle the battle.
Yeah, well, and she is, he found out that she did rule Andor, right? So she's a queen and she's my brother, or sister, I'm her brother, right? So of course, like, yeah, that's gonna work.
Yeah, the plan he had before joining up with these guys still applies. Now he just has many more swords to bring to bear. But again, he's not marching to Andor to invade. He's marching to Andor to get marching orders and maybe even gateways up to where the real battle is. So, he knows that he can talk Elaine down from freaking out.
Totally. And he knows he has to work with Aes Sedai, right?
Yes,
and he knows that like Elaine is a good way to bring the White Cloaks. Like Andor has a history of being cooperative with the Aes Sedai, that in a way that the White Cloaks don't. And he's like, but I know I can negotiate with Elaine and Andor.
Yeah, they have diplomatic rapport.
Exactly. As much as she doesn't like him.
But he knows that, like, she will listen to reason. As queen,
Totally.
With knowing who they are, he's like, I can make this work. And then, she's a lot more reasonable than anyone expected once he actually shows up in the room.
Well, and especially, as he basically becomes part of Perrin's force and is negotiated that truce, right? Like, he doesn't even negotiate for the White Cloaks. He negotiates to be part of Perrin's force, and Perrin's force negotiates their joining the last battle. And they're, like, only allowed to do it under Perrin.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, it would have worked even if he hadn't teamed up with Perrin. Like, it would have worked. He would have been able to get his army to the last battle effectively by going to Elaine. But yeah, he comes with Perrin, which makes it even more efficient.
Mm.
Yeah, there we go.
And that's the opening 2 chapters.
Yeah. That was like about an hour and a half of chapter content.
Yep.
So glad we doubled those chapters up. That was a good call.
And it's looking, based on our preview of the book, pretty much every chapter, at least in the first half of the book, is going to get doubled up.
Next week is the exception to that. We will be doing
next week
one
is the
chapter
exception.
next week, but then yeah, it's doubles for like 2 months after that. Spadoinko, you are welcome to, well, I'm not going to say you're welcome to start a rival podcast because that seems very counterproductive.
But it's sometimes we skip one just so like the pairings work better, right? Because it's like if chapter 4 and 5 work really well together, then it's important to do just a standalone chapter 3 so we can link them up.
And I promise you guys, I've done enough editing to know we really do run out of quality brain output at about 3 hours. Like, we really stopping at an hour and a half, 2 hours. By the time you get to 3 hours, we sound like drunk people in terms of our logic. Like, it's not good stuff. You're much better off with having us cut ourselves off at 120 minutes.
Definitely.
I promise. And with that, let's turn recording off. Recording is on. You don't have to sew in order to appreciate Used to Sew. Used to Sew is a podcast about sewing machines, sewing culture, and sewing history in the past and present. We talk about dealing with fast fashion. We talk about the invention of sewing machines. We talk about how the American experiment has been influenced by sewing machines and vice versa. We go all over the place. It has nothing to do with how to sew. That's not the point. And then you get to meet my mom in all of her creative stage persona glory.
You want her here. They want her here.
You are demanding, Spadoinko. Telling us how many chapters to do, demanding guest hosts. It's nice to have such a rabid fan.
Well, I have finished going through Dungeon Crawler Carl, the book series. So what's out so far, which would be book 7, I believe. That's correct. Yes. Yeah, I think it's a really good series, and I think it's interesting the way it has progressed beyond a game-type RPG. Gotta say, a lot of fun. Definitely worth reading. It gets a little crazy. Like, I have 2 criticisms of Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'll say I love it. Sometimes the battle scenes get a little repetitive, right? Because it's kind of like a video game, right? Sometimes there's the same kind of fight over and over again. And then it gets really complicated really fast, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of all the characters. And I don't even know if that's a criticism so much as I need to go back and reread it. And I'm sort of going back through it again. But it's worth it that, like, after the first 7 books, I'm going back through and rereading it, and I'm sort of catching things and foreshadowing and stuff like that. There's some good work. I really, really highly recommend the series if you're looking for something that's a fun read that escalates. You know, I'm putting it in the, I don't want to call it the Dresden Files, the Bobaverse, these categories of books that are somewhat lighthearted or often told from a first person perspective from a dude who's just trying to, make things work as best they can and getting along, but then often has a power progression or power creep as they get more, like Dresden gets more powerful. Bobaverse, as he spreads, he destroys a fucking galaxy. Spoilers, right? Like, or a solar system, not a galaxy. He destroys a solar system, right? So there's that level of like, okay, there's some power creep going on in these books, but they're fun, light reads. They're a very different category than what I would call epic fantasy. These like heroes' journeys where lots of characters, because they are so focused on the protagonist, that one person who's telling the story from an I perspective, first person perspective. And yeah, I think they're all... You can get bored with them if you want, or you can engage with the characters. It's kind of, it reminds me a lot of old school 90s television where you had 26 episodes. Like, they're not all good, right? But, like, if you care about the characters, it's worth watching them all.
Right. Yeah.
As opposed to, like, we might have these new shows where all eight we have 8 episodes, and they're all fucking, top-notch, high-octane, every moment counts episodes.
Yeah.
But that can also be detrimental.
It's a different approach. It's a very different approach. They're not really equivalent. I know which one I prefer.
Light Blinded Fool, I have not read The Frugal Wizard. I think it's the only Sanderson book I haven't read because it's not Cosmere, and so I never got around to reading it. It's also a little harder to get a hold of. Because, epic fantasy's hard. It's hard to find good stuff, right? I'd say the last thing that I liked that I would classify as epic fantasy was Lycanus Trilogy. That was really sort of this big epic world. Lots of characters, lots of plot lines, switching POVs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I should read that sometime. Sometime.
Other news, my cat's still missing. I'm pretty upset about that. Not much you can do at this point that we haven't already done.
That sucks. Every week we come back and I'm hoping for a better update. That's a bummer. That puts it 3 weeks now?
I want to say it's only been 2. Two as of Sunday, so we're into the 3rd week.
Gotcha.
It's the uncertainty, I think, is what's really rough about that. Did someone just snatch my cat and it's living somewhere fine in somebody else's house? Did a coyote get him? Is he hit by a car somewhere?
Yeah.
And in a couple of those scenarios, you'll never find out.
Yeah.
And I did all the things you're supposed to do. We've done all the things you're supposed to do for a cat. He's chipped. We put up posters. We've done the next doors thing, all that kind of stuff. So...
Well, I promised y'all an update on my sewing machine in contrast with the cat situation. And apparently you're not supposed to take a sewing machine apart, 3 different sewing machines apart, intending to put them back together into one sewing machine, assuming all the parts are interoperable 8 months before you decide to do the reassembly. According to my mom's extensive research, this is not the correct way to efficiently put the thing back together. So she's been slowly but surely troubleshooting her way into assembling this Davis vertical feed out of 3 different machines worth of parts. Because it's like they're spread out across like 40 years. So sometimes even screws that are meant to be the same, there's enough drift over time in how they were getting made that like the thread patterns don't line up if the machines are 40 years apart in their manufacture date, even though they're ostensibly the same. So it's been a bit of a journey, but I've been getting a lot of little fiddly projects done in my sewing room while she works on that. We're just kind of parallel playing while she, yells at the sewing machine and threatens to, can't be stuck if it's liquid, right? Like there's a lot of restoration happening, but she's getting there. She's getting there. Every work session, it does move forward. Just is taking a lot longer than she thought. So
that reminds me so much of my job because I work in these microchip industry, but I work on machines that were built, usually, or at least designed 30 years ago. And they've been buying new ones ever since, but it's the same machine. And so you think it's the same machine, it's going to have the same parts until you need to replace something. And the new one you buy doesn't fit. And it's like, well, it's the same part number. It's always been. It's like, yeah, but you changed it.
Somewhere along the line, it changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just the casting that they made, the precision of what they were doing, right? Because this is a machine from like the 1870s, 80s, something like that.
18
so
or 19?
18.
Whoa, okay. So 140 years.
Yeah, this one's an old treadle machine. So like the amount of progression that they had in their ability to precisely make things over like a 40-year period, pretty radical changes, right? From the oldest of these versions through the newest one that she has that's from, like 1910 or 20.
Okay.
Right? Like there's a big range of machine precision over that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's, we're going along, and I like I said, I've made little tiny lacy curtains to put up in my kitchen in the high windows. So there's just like these cute little lacy curtains up there.
Oh, that's adorable.
High up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the parallel play of working on stuff together with her is great. And then we did a great work session today for Used to Sew because we had like email logins and other, stuff to do that was just easier to do in person, to just be there working on troubleshooting stuff together. And in the course of that, I learned I can upload RSS feeds to YouTube automatically. So now, instead of having to do the What Spoilers episodes manually, every week where I have to remember on Friday to like put all this stuff together in Adobe Premiere Pro and export it manually, I can just have the RSS feed from Spreaker just trigger a whole thing with YouTube and just have it be all connected, and it'll just be automatic. And I'm so jazzed. This is going to actually save me a lot of time per week and add way more reach to all my podcasts, because I didn't know that was an option. I learned it was an option. I'm so excited.
So for the 40 of you, and we see it's pretty much almost always about 40 people that are listening on YouTube, you shouldn't have any more delays on the episodes, although you won't get the pretty pictures.
You won't get the pretty picture. You will still have to go back to our social media for that, for sure. But yeah, it will be precisely on time every week. So look forward to that.
Except I'm sure like the first 2 weeks when it'll break horribly because technology is a thing.
Well, I mean, there is that factor. But, Mercury retrograde ended yesterday, so we're good now.
Okay. Other than that, I think I spent this weekend hanging shelves. I bought a bunch of shelving for the house in various locations that needed it. The laundry room, the bathroom, some other places that I can't remember right now. And we got a real mattress for our guest bed. We had an inflatable one that we were like, it was co-playing as our guest bed / camping mattress. Now it's just our camping mattress, and we have a real mattress for the guest bed. So
nice.
Nesting. I've been nesting. It's been fun. It's nice to, yeah.
So what we did over the weekend was we went up to the Siletz powwow in Siletz, Oregon, the Nesika Ilahi powwow. And that was really cool. I'd never been to a powwow before. And we were only there for like 4 hours because it was a long drive, but it's a long day overall. But it was really cool. It was really cool sitting on the ground while all those drums were going. And all the regalia is just so pretty. And
so what does a powwow involve? I don't know anything about it.
Lots of dancing. It's on I guess this one, a lot of competitive dancers come to it. So there's like a big central circle, and everything is set up around the central circle, and only the dancers and the drums, and a drum means a group of musicians who all play the same drum. It's like band. So only the drums and the dancers go into the circle. And yeah, there's a grand entry a couple of times where they all process through. And then there's like what they call intertribal dances, where anyone can just kind of go do whatever. And then they have like actual divisions, like little kids. Like we saw the little kids doing their practice divisions, and they go out there and they do like 2 dances, I think. And they're just wearing all these beautiful jingle dresses and feather headdresses, and they have fans made out of turkey feathers and just really elaborate regalia. Some of it's obviously very old and like family heirloom stuff, and some of it's obviously made much more recently. Everyone jingles. Everyone's wearing sleigh bells and jingle bells and these rattles, and just the smellscape and the soundscape was so different from any other like gathering, summer party, street fair, market I've ever been to. It was a lot of the same like pop-up tents and curls of smoke from the food vendors and, trays of earrings you can buy, but also it all just smelled and sounded different.
So what makes it a powwow versus just like a festival or like...
The tribes are doing it.
Okay.
This is an actual tribal event. Like we were very much in the racial minority as white people. Like it's open to non-natives. Non-natives are welcome to come. It's a front-facing cultural event, but it is a cultural event of the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz. And like I said, a lot of dancers come from like all over. Like
I was concerned that it wasn't a tribal event, and I was like,
No, this is like an actual real tribal event. And my mom was pointing out, you could see in the beadwork designs that are like from the Great Lakes region or whatever. Like you could tell just from looking at the regalia, there are people from all over who have come for the competitive dancing, because it's like a 3-day event. And yeah, I bought some earrings and a necklace, and we had some food. I didn't really have very much food because my food was timed weird for the day. And me and travel and food.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
But Brandon had some food, and it all just smelled so different. And there was lots of sage burning, and there was like booths full of tanned animal furs and hides. And it was just, and like seriously, mostly native people. Like it was mostly native. We were very much like these weird white people outsiders, just kind of like politely hanging out on the back edge, being like, wow, this is so cool. My mom knew some people who were there, but it was a much bigger powwow than she'd ever been to before, because she'd been many times to many other powwows, but she was like, this is the biggest one I've ever been to. And so we did not find her friends, who's ostensibly had a booth set up somewhere in all of that.
Right.
But yeah, they had a great like shuttle system. So like we went into Siletz, which is a reservation town. Like the whole thing is Siletz tribal space, as far as I know. And like we just parked at the school and then went to a little stop, and then a shuttle came by and took everyone up the hill. And so it was a shuttle running like every 15 minutes, so you could get taken up to the event space and not have to deal with like crowded parking. Like our actual parking was very chill. But yeah, it was really beautiful and, you know, nice of them to let that be a front-facing, public-facing tribal event. And, you know, lots of stuff I didn't understand, and lots of people who obviously knew each other very well. And, you know, it was like we were very much like tourists, but like, I mean, I was reading on like all the Reddit forums, like how to politely go to a powwow and like not be disrespectful. And like, because there's rules, right? Like you can't take pictures of people without their permission, and like pointing is rude. And like there's all these little things. And
I feel like some of those should be, you know, universal.
Respect for elders. A lot of the rules made me cringe with the knowledge of the events that precipitated the rules needing to get made. Like I was looking at different tribal websites where like they had very specific rules about like you can't just wander across the central dance space like it's a beer garden. That's actually like sacred space. And I'm just like, wow, just some of these rules seem like common sense. Some of them seem like event logistics, and some of them seem like, dear God, can white people please not be the worst? Like, oh my God, this should not need to be stated. Like, fuck. Yeah, it was just a really cool sense of like, we literally went to another nation. We went like touristing in another nation and like did the thing. And it was a cool way to spend a Saturday.
I think that the presence of Native Americans in the United States is something that in the East Coast I was very separated from, and it's much more common out here on the West Coast because there is a presence, right? Like
it's a much more recent colonization wave that we represent now.
And just how much that, like, I kind of grew up with the idea that there were no Native Americans left. Like, never seen one, never met one until I came out here, you know? It was this whole, And they exist on the East Coast, but yeah, in very small enclaves compared to what's going on out here, and with very few resources.
I would not bet money on that.
Compared to what's out here.
I would not bet money on that. There's a concerted effort to make sure that we don't know what the fuck we're talking about when it comes to the indigenous population of this country. So I'm just going to not make strong claims about anything.
Fair.
Yeah, it was. And now that I've liked one powwow page on Facebook, now I'm being informed of the like 75 other ones that are happening within a 3-hour drive of me. There's a lot out here. And it's powwow season because summer.
Yeah, and people are saying there's a large presence in the Midwest, and that I was aware of as well. But man, East Coast and South,
it's complicated everywhere. Yeah, our ignorance is a really important part of how the powers that be keep exploiting the land and ruining the planet for everyone. Is us being ignorant of all that.
That's a universal. What, us ignorant? No.
Yeah, our ignorance is really important for them to maintain power, actually.
Right. Yeah. Which, you know, right now I'm sort of buried in a flood of information that keeps me ignorant, which is kind of a crazy way to think about it. But
yeah, the internet had this moment of feeling so hopeful, and now it's like the worst tool.
Yeah, I really do. I really feel like it's just when I get onto Google, like I can't find anything I'm looking for that's not sponsored ads. Like even just simple, like I hate to say this, but like they've kind of shut down effective pirate. And maybe I'm just not a teenager anymore, so I don't know how to effectively pirate anymore. But like I really do feel like there's this moment in the internet where it's like it used to be open and free and they couldn't stop anything, and now it's like, oh yeah, but except now the people in England need their IDs to look at, you know, any sort of adult website, and it's like, wait, what? How is that a thing?
It's a mess.
You know, and it's just an example. You know, it's just a mess. It's just a huge mess of like control, and you know, some people are like, well, we need the regulation, and it's like, yeah, but
we need different regulations than this puritanical controlling stuff.
Yeah, I don't even
we needed
know.
the regulations that nerds have been asking for since the mid-90s that we just can't be bothered to get around to. Those are the regulations we need, not whatever this fucking bullshit is.
Do you want to accept cookies? Yes or no on every fucking website that pops up. Like,
Hey, wiretap, how do I make pancakes? You seen that comic? It used to be, oh no, there's a wiretap in the wall. Now it's, hey, wiretap, how do I make pancakes?
yeah. That is so true. I resisted Alexa for so long, and now I can't turn my lights on without her.
I will continue to resist voice command technology until it is as cool as Star Trek and literally talks to me in the Star Trek lady's voice.
I will say the ability to say goodnight Alexa and have every single light in my house turn off is really convenient at the end of the night. And also then have them all like on a schedule and stuff like that. The only thing I did was link the smart lights to Alexa. So, I mean, I have an app that I can use, but I can also verbally.
I just don't want to talk to my computer.
Yeah, it mostly sucks.
Bothers me.
It mostly sucks.
Not until it is literally the Star Trek lady talking back to me with the level of intelligence and creativity that Star Trek computers had. Like, not until then.
I do like the fact that you can change the keyword and you can change it to computer if you want to. So you can be like, computer, just like.
I do appreciate that. I'm glad for everyone who that is the line that allows them to cross over. It will not be me.
Anyway, these are totally random thoughts about life and the internet that just don't matter to anybody who cares about Wheel of Time.
Do we want to talk about things that matter to people who care about Wheel of Time?
Yeah, let's talk about apples.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. What Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.